You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru attı. Tümer gitti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Zuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 164 of the Black Eagles podcast. And I am your host, Sinan Schwartz, live from a rainy springtime New York City. An old expression here in the States. I don't know if it's a universal one, to be honest, but they say that April showers bring May flowers. So let's hope the Earth gets this out of its system and we get a nice summer. Get my vaccine soon. Anybody else out there who's getting their vaccine? You know, there's the vaccine kinship out there for anyone. But so yeah, of course we have some big stuff to talk about that actually has to do with Beşiktaş. So I will, cut the crap, as they say. But yeah, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoying their spring, of course. Anyway, as we tend to do, let's talk a little bit about what was going on coming into our match. And I think what makes the most sense is to talk about the kind of the happenings in the league going into the match. And obviously the big news was that first I think it was Galatasaray who drew, or no, I think maybe it was, it doesn't matter who was first. I think it was actually Galatasaray who was first. They drew against Fatih Karagümrük, the former Kings of Istanbul. It's funny to think there was a time when they had the best record among all the Istanbul sides. A long time has passed since then, and many things have occurred. But, so yeah, 1-1 draw for Galatasaray. That was obviously good news for us going into our match. And then the icing on top, or the cherry on top, I guess. I guess maybe Galatasaray was the icing. But yes, Fenerbahçe drew as well. Drew against Yeni Malatya, also 1-1. And so the football gods smiled upon us going into our match. On the flip side of that, Joseph was out of this one. He got that yellow card in the last match, finally giving himself that suspension. I guess the good news is that the cards have stopped accumulating. I mean, they haven't stopped, but at least he's unlikely to accumulate enough yellow cards to miss any more, at least any big matches. Galatasaray upcoming. We'll get into all of that going forward. Guys who are still waiting for their yellow cards, that are waiting, have one to go till their suspension, are Valentin Rosier, Kyle Laren, and Necip. So that would be something to obviously stay tuned for. So yeah, that was basically the news going into our match. Obviously, Abubakar out. Aydin Hasic out. Abubakar more short term, hopefully, right? And supposedly he was slated to miss 2 matches, and this was the second against Erzurum. Hasic obviously is a different story. He's gone for quite a while. The good news on Hasic is he may not have torn the ACL or whatever it is that was supposed to have happened, ruptured or whatever. He didn't require surgery. It appeared he was on crutches and had like a kind of serious wrap on it. But that could be good news. That could be down to his age. He's very young. Obviously, if he doesn't require surgery, it wouldn't be a bad one. Anyway, let's hope for the best. As always, knock on wood. But so yeah, let's dive into this match. So obviously, Erzurumspor was a dangerous side. Any side facing relegation would be any loyal listeners who listened to our last podcast episode will note that Erzurum, I mentioned this previously, that are in the relegation clash, if you will. They had the most games played, so all their opposition in the relegation clash had games in hand relative to them. So although they weren't at the bottom, they were second from bottom. They were in very rough shape, we could definitely say. So things were looking rough for them. They want to get results wherever they can. Erzurum's a side that's much better, I think, than their results, to be fair. At least in terms of composition, they have an interesting squad. It'd be a shame to see them go down, but it's sort of looked like it's in the cards for a while now, unfortunately. They would, coming into our match, and I'll talk about some of their results. So, their previous match on April 7th, the previous week, we could say, was a draw against Gençler, also down at the bottom. The same week, but the match before was a loss to Konya, at home no less. That would have been a tough one. Prior to that, a loss to Antalyaspor, 3-1. Antalya doesn't usually score a ton, so that was tough for them probably. Previous to that, on March 14th, they drew Trabzon 0-0. So that would have been a positive result for them. And prior to that, they lost to Göztepe 3-1. Prior to that, they drew Fatih Karagümrük 2-2. So, the best they've managed to get are draws. As you'd expect, I guess, for a side struggling to stay up at this point. But, any side like this is dangerous at this stage of the season. There's no doubt about it. You can't overlook any opposition at this stage of the season, no less. But really, at any stage of the season, in the Super League, I think the Super League is one of those leagues where parity has become something of a norm, just vis-a-vis, because financial fair play regulations came into effect, and it was by and large the big sides that had racked up a ton of debt. And additionally, the foreign limit being lifted, a lot of talent has come into the Super League, but the big sides have been unable to spend much. So what it's done is actually, I think, raised the level of competition quite a bit. You can't overlook any competition in this league anymore. On any given day, a small side can get a result, and we've seen it time and time again.
Operation is in effect as of right now.
In these last couple seasons, especially, of course. Well, we've struggled, and even our rivals in Istanbul to some extent. So, just a huge match, and for us, obviously, with our rivals having dropped a couple points each, getting draws in their matches, a win would do us wonders. So let's talk lineups then. Finally, I guess of note on their side, their left back was Leo Schweklin, who was very active, as well as Emre Başsan, who they had a formidable left side, I can say. Atif Çeçue, many will recognize him from his former days in higher places in the Super League, but he's playing for Erzurum now. Their keeper Zumski was, I think he had ups and downs, I guess we could say, but yeah, 29-year-old Polish keeper over there. But so yeah, I think all in all, their side didn't have anyone. Budko on their right side. Manuel da Costa is a defender for them. Many will recognize from, he's got a ton of experience in the Super League. Up front for them was, I think, Mustafa El Kabir. I believe his first name is Mustafa. If I'm wrong, my apologies. I'm just basically going off of memory there. But for Beşiktaş, on the other hand, you'll all recognize the names, although perhaps some surprises. And again, I think Joseph being suspended for this one forced Sergen to do some interesting things. So obviously Ersin started in the goal. Domagoj Vida and Wellington on the back line. Valentin Rosier and Nsakala on the left side there. On the back, in the back of the midfield rather, we saw Dorukhan Tokuz coming back into the lineup rather than Necip. Atiba Hutchinson and Ozan Ozyakup would play ahead of Dorukhan. Kyle Laren on the left side, Rashid Ghezal on the right, and Cenk Tosun starting up front. And obviously being able to bring Cenk in with Abu being out, Abu Bakar, for anyone who's not familiar with his nickname, was a very nice luxury to have, certainly. But so, a little foreboding note there. But so yeah, let's dive into the match. And right away, again, you want to see energy from Beşiktaş when we allow goals. First, things get kind of prickly for us. So you want to see us come out with energy and attack. And sure enough, we would. And the first real action would come in the second minute. Rashid Ghezal making a nice little dribble, passing into space for Cenk to run onto really well. Cenk he would do a lovely step over, pull back, and send in a shot. That would require a really nice save, speaking of that Polish keeper, Zumski. Really nice save, and Cenk could have easily had a goal in the second minute of the match. Would have been very nice. He deserved it. It was a lovely play all around, including the save by the keeper in the end, unfortunately. In the 9th minute, however, we would get right back to it, and Atiba with a mazy run. Nice run, kind of right up the gut, a bit to the right side. He would dribble out right, and then try to slide it on Kyle Laren. There would be some contact by, what's his name? I think Omolo, or maybe Hatipolo, or someone on the left side of Erzurum's defense. But nonetheless, it would get to Kyle Laren, and he would slot it in just absolutely perfectly. Puts power on it. He was standing straight up, received the ball perfectly, just sends it in, looping up high into the perfect top right corner. Keeper gets up there, but just can't get to it in time. 1-0, or 0-1, I suppose. We're on the road here. And a cold Erzurum, as you'd expect. And we're lucky we didn't go in the dead of winter, because it can get really frigid over there. So a bit of good fortune in the scheduling, perhaps. But Kyle Laren, lovely finish. And I mentioned Atiba, that there was contact by the defender, so he did not get credit for the assist. Had he, that would have been 5 out of the last 6 goals he'd assisted, or something crazy like that. So fascinating there. But nonetheless, we would not hang on to this lead very long. In the 15th minute, it would be a corner kick, and Leo Schwecklin would get his head on it. And just, you'd love to point your finger at someone and blame them, but really it was a fantastic header. It's worth noting it was raining, and the pitch was terrible. So it was a bit of a slop fest. This looked like goals could come in raining as well. If you'd like, but nonetheless, you don't like seeing us, give one up here on a set piece. But it is what it is. Leo Schwecklin scores. Really nice header. You got to give him credit. But again, we wouldn't let it bring us down. It would seem. 20th minute, Ozan, who was really sloppy with his passing, and not good at all to this point, would find Cenk in this case, and a really nice pass on the flip side of that, running him nicely into space. And Cenk would send in a shot wide from an angle. Maybe he shouldn't take that shot, or should sort of pull it in or something at least. He was certainly not at a good angle for that shot, but nonetheless, it was a pretty decent chance in the end. And sort of foretelling, if you will. In the 25th minute, again, Ozan would, apparently he woke up here, and he'd send Ghazal on, who would make a nice sort of dribble, and then find Ozan again with a lovely little ball on the ground, so not a cross. And Ozan would send in a shot from distance, and again, I noted the rain and the pitch. It would hit a divot or something, and it would take a nasty bounce first. And even then, Zumski would get his hands to it, but not enough. Unfortunately, with the slippery ball, it would go right through his hands. Bit of a blunder. He certainly would not be happy with that. But Ozan would, certainly, because it was a nice shot from distance into the bottom right corner. Low shot with a little lift on it, but not much. A little curl on it as well. And so, yeah, lovely goal. Even though, of course, keeper would have liked to have done better. But anyway, we've got the lead again. And Ghazal with the assist, as I mentioned. And I have to say, this is worth noting. On both goals, first Kyle Laren's, he runs straight to Sergen Yalchin, jumping him, giving him a hug and all that, and the whole squad kind of doing a group hug. Same thing happens after the second goal. Of course, this one with Ozan running to the coach, who, it's worth noting that this is a guy who has not given him a ton of play in the season. Of course, of late, he's getting a bit more, and that's great to see for Ozan, for Beşiktash, because he's on a pretty decent salary. Maybe even for the Turkish national side, that's good news. So it's good to see Ozan getting back into form. And obviously, he's very thankful to his coach, as well as Kyle Laren, who is also thriving under Sergen Yalchin, obviously. So just great team camaraderie. And it's worth noting that last week I talked about it, but I had to cut it because there was all this weird background chatter from the street. Some ambulance stuff. So I cut the bit where I was talking about how great the camaraderie was after Rashid Ghazal's goal, where he ran to the sidelines and they brought up a shirt for Aydin Hasic, his jersey, and sort of showed it to the cameras and pointed up to him in the stands. So just great team camaraderie. It's just really showing through every time we score. You really get a sense of it. We're never letting our heads hang low. And yeah, we'll talk about why that's also important. So here in the 38th minute, a cross comes in from, I think, it doesn't really matter, whatever. Emre Baysan gets it, does really well from distance to put a shot on, though it's very savable. But I guess on a rainy day like this with a terrible pitch with divots all over it, you might as well take a crack at it. He does, and Ersin flubs it. Absolutely something of a howler, if you will. Just absolutely, it hits his chest. He flails his arm in to catch it and kind of punches it back by accident, sending it into the goal. The shot was all right, I don't want to give this Amara fella too much credit. It was smart of him to go for it, obviously. But Ersin flubs it. Got to give the rain something here, but at the same time, not too much. You don't want your keeper letting that in. But back to the camaraderie thing. Everyone ran to his side, got him to lift his head up. Atiba, captain, did that the most. But nobody let him really wallow in it. Everybody said, "Hey, keep your head up. Don't worry about it. These things happen." And they do. Not only do they happen, they have happened to the best of keepers, not to mention the worst. So again, you hate to see it, but it's nothing for anyone to panic about. Just, weather/nerves. And, it's better to get these things out of a system in games like this than... well, we'll talk more anyway. That would be it for the first half, and we'd go in 2-2, and obviously that would be worrisome. You never want to see goals scored like that. Not to mention two. You feel like we've dominated this game to some extent, but scoreline's not showing it, and we all know how that can go. So yeah, there was a lot to fear, a lot to worry about for sure. But nonetheless, at the half, I think we also feel like we can win this one easily. I wasn't too panicked, honestly. They would make a sub. Mustafa El Kabir would leave the match for Ricardo Gomes. And El Kabir would be pretty angry about it, of note. And sure enough, those fears would almost come to fruition. In the 55th minute, Emre again, a lovely ball onto Ricardo Gomes, and his first real action would be dangerous. He'd move into space, make a nice sort of cutback, and take a shot in. But this time, Ersin would be up to the task and make a lovely save on a shot where he could easily have let it spill because of the rain and all that. He actually catches it, holds on. So huge save from him, and again, credit to the whole team for picking him up and not letting him, let the game get out of hand or anything like that. But 57th minute, Dorkan would get himself a yellow card, kind of a clumsy tackle, a little worrisome because again, those are he gets another one and that can kind of turn the match. In the 61st minute, we would see some subs. Still level, so you get it. You want to see some action here. There hasn't been there aren't a ton of highlights, honestly, in the first 20 minutes of the second half. Other than theirs, which is even worse. But so yeah, Necip would enter the match in the 61st minute for Atiba, and Bernard Mensah would enter the match for Ozan Özyakup, who, like I said, was sloppy, but at the same time effective. Sometimes it's a lot. He just needs that one or two chances to get something to happen. So anyway, so there's some subs made too, which you don't see a lot of, only in the 61st minute, no less. So Sergen wisening up still. But so then the things would come to fruition quickly. 65th minute, just 4 minutes later, Rashid Ghazal, a really, really nice run. Juggling around. Cenk passed it to him along the sideline, but hardly assist-worthy pass because Ghazal would run up the side, dribble around a number of guys, and then slot it in from just outside the penalty box around the center of the pitch, and with a curling shot up high, almost just tucked in under the crossbar, not above, and yeah, goal 2-3, just a stunner of a goal, and a sort of one of those celebrations where he didn't even just definitive confident celebration where it's just that's what happens when you mess with us, lovely goal, classy celebration. In the 71st minute, they would almost, a nice volley would drop to Gomez, and he would send the shot high. Not sky it, though, enough to sort of put a little scare in us, perhaps. But we're still hanging on to that lead. And then, to add to the actual clouds and the rain, we did some metaphorical clouds on a little rain on our parade here. In the 76th minute, we'd have subs. Nkudu would come in for Rashid Ghazal. Fine, Nkudu was our super sub, right? But Gökhan Töre would come in for Cenk. Cenk Tosun would leave the match injured. He went up for a header. His cleat got kind of stuck in the terrible pitch that we've talked about. Twists. Doesn't comes down weirdly on it, and it looks bad. I'm glad that beIN didn't give us an angle of the injury or the knee, but whatever was happening with it, Cenk looks down at it. He doesn't seem to be too bothered initially, but he looks down at his knee and sees something happening with it, and clutches it, and it's just a sort of a nightmare look on his face, and then gets carted off. Just absolutely not what you want to see for the poor guy. Looks really bad. The news is bad. I'll wait for. I think he ruptured his meniscus or something. But we'll wait for sort of definitive news as far as when he'll return. But it's not good. Months, His Euro campaign is probably out the window as well, unfortunately. So that's how bad it was. But so yeah, he's out. 4 subs, however. That's something to note, I guess. This is the 76th minute. We've already made 4 subs, so Sergen Yalchin is seriously using those subs. Obviously, he probably wouldn't have wanted to have to sub Cenk out here, but or even he may have, honestly, because Cenk wasn't having the best of games. Honestly, I'm glad he got the assists. He got something to sort of pad his stats with a little here, given that his season's over. But just absolutely terrible to see him go out like that. And yeah, so he leaves the match. I suppose Kyle Laren slides up front with Torre and Nkudu on the wings. Gazal having just left from Nkudu. 82nd minute, there's a yellow for them. Alkalic. 84th, they sub on. Oh, also they make a sub, Celik for Butko on the right back there. 84th minute, they sub in Gabriel Aubertin for Atif Chachue. And then finally, in the 85th minute, just to sort of pick our spirits up, having all seen Cenk go down, and we're all worried about it. Obviously, this is before we all know just how bad it is, but I think we all have a sense. In the 85th minute, Nkudu, a really nice run up the left side, taps it on to Gökhan Töre really well. So another nice sort of contribution off the bench for him. Gökhan Töre would then dribble 2 guys, I think, or at least one. He would do a little cutback juke move and then dribble into space, slot the ball in low across the goal. Just lovely goal from Gökhan Töre. 2-4. Looks like we've got this one in the bag. Nkudu gets the assist. And just, yeah, we're loving it at this point. 2-4. I mean, minus the whole Cenk incident, obviously. At least this helps us get over that for the short term. In the 88th minute, the last chance of the match would go to them. Ball dribbled up the left side. Cross comes in. Looks like it's intended for Ricardo Gomez. He misses it, but it drops to Emre Baysan, who really well, and he skies it. Lucky for us. Guess it doesn't really matter. It's not like we had a clean sheet to save or anything, and it's the 88th minute, so if anything, it just could have put a bit of a scare into the end of this match for us. It doesn't happen. It's not to be. In the 91st minute, Kyle Laren injured, but not so bad. He walked off the pitch. Francisco Montero enters. We haven't seen him in a while. And we're playing with 3 back at this point. Wing backs, and who knows what's going on up there. 97th minute, Wellington gets a yellow card. I don't think he's suspended though. He might be getting close to one. In the 97th minute as well, Dari comes into the match for Emre, who obviously had a pretty decent game against us, pretty effective anyway. And that would be it for the match. A huge win, 2-4. And yeah, the results keep coming in for us. Not only that, so like I said, with Fener and Galatasaray having drawn, we gained 2 points on both of them with this result. So just absolutely huge. Before I go on to stats, or to the table though, rather, and talk about what happened with those 2 points and all of that, I have to talk stats, and here's a little surprise I didn't even mention. I will not be here to talk stats with you. I'm handing the mic over to everyone's favorite prodigal son, our returning guy, Evran, the Akman, coming in with the stat flash. Take it away, kid.
Alright, hitting you guys with a quick stat flash for the Erzurum match. Starting with the fancy stats. XG wise, Beşiktaş had 1.4 XG and Erzurum had a 1.3 XG. So in terms of just the rosy reports XG, the game was fairly even. Going into the more basic stats, Beşiktaş only had 54% possession, which I think in a game like this you may have expected to have about 70. But obviously Erzurum was playing for their lives, down the relegation fight. Pass percentages, Beşiktaş was at 78%, while Erzurum was at 73%, so fairly even. Touches in the opponent's box, Beşiktaş is at 25, and Erzurum's at 17, which is quite good for, a team at that level like Erzurum. Usually they, just try to counter, and you might see like 4 or 5 touches in the box, but they're really put it on the line. Shots, Erzurum actually took more shots, less efficient shots, but more shots with a 12-10 advantage. Then on target, Beşiktaş had 6-4, so Beşiktaş is a little bit more efficient, and then had better players, which definitely showed. Individual stats, obviously going to start with probably man to match. Mr. Rashid Gezel had his amazing goal, but he was looking at the raw numbers. He created 4 chances, which was a game high, and then he completed 3 out of 4 dribbles. So that was like his usual kind of thing. He puts in good crosses and he's good off a dribble. Same time, he only won 6 out of 15 duels, which is kind of standard for Gezel. Good on the ball, a little weak off of it, but doesn't matter when you do that. So, and he also had 77% pass completion total. The other man who got on the score sheet and had a big contribution was Laren, and it was typical performance, just as Gezel did. Only had 1 chance created. His pass percentage was pretty poor, 68%. But he shows that it's that pure effort. 10 out of 17 duels won, 3 out of 5 dribbles. He won 3 out of 4 headers. He had 7 recoveries, and he won 4 free kicks, which was a team high free kick. So he just kind of gets his body in there and does his thing, and it shows up on the stat sheet. A player who's been criticized by some people in the media for some reason, they're saying his performance has dropped off. Rosier, his stats were decent today, albeit not offensively. He only had 70% pass accuracy, which is a little bit low for him. 7 out of 13 duels won, which is pretty decent. He completed his only dribble attempted. He won a game high 4 tackles, which is the most of any player on the field. He had 4 interceptions, 6 recoveries. He won 2 out of 3 headers, and he also had clearance off the line. So I think it was just a solid performance. A little under the radar. I guess we're used to seeing Mini Quaresma back there, sending skills from right back. But, today was just business, and that does the job. More notable players, Oğuzhan, who got that goal. Interesting stats here. 40% pass completion, which is pretty abysmal for your creative midfielder. Only attempted 15 passes in his time on the field. One of those 6 completed passes out of 15 was a key pass. And he actually was pretty efficient when he wasn't, ghosting or giving the ball away. 3 out of 4 duels won, and just to furthermore, he doesn't really win the ball much. He only had 2 recoveries. So he's still ghosting, but hopefully that goal gives him confidence to get involved in the play. The center back pairing, I always like to compare them. Vida was almost unbothered, it seemed like, but if you look at his stats, he only entered 3 duels the entire match as a center back, which is quite low. He won all 3. 92% pass accuracy, 3 interceptions, and just the 3 recoveries. Wellington, on the other hand, was just more of a sloppy performance. He had about 81% pass accuracy, but he entered 13 duels, just 10 more than Vida. So I guess maybe you can say that he's more reckless, and he's one who steps up, while Vida is like the sweeper kind of center back. And at the same time, maybe other teams are targeting him. He also had 8 clearances, 7 of those in the air. So yeah, he was the one booting the ball while Vida was chilling. And then Mr. Gekanta, who scored the 4th goal, he obviously only played 15 minutes, so his stats are very small sample size, but he was quite efficient. 3 out of 3 duels won, 5 out of 6 passes completed, and just the 1 shot that went in. So that's the little stat flash for today.
So there you have it. Thank you, Evran, as always. And hopefully I'm going to get this kid back on air soon. We'll some news on that front. But we'll talk about it. I'll let him drop it. But so yeah, big game. The stats. I don't know if XG is telling the full story here, honestly. But I mean, certainly you could say Erzurum fought hard. They do not want to be relegated. And it's sad if they do get it in the end. I don't know if they deserve it. I think they're a pretty solid team, but such is life in the Super League. Can't sleep on anyone. But so yeah, 2-4, huge win. Now, obviously, what's left to talk about are the standings. Before I do that, so since we waited till Monday, as we typically do. We got one more result in, and so what's interesting, I didn't realize Galatasaray got their bye week in this last match day, so we're not going to have a match in hand on them any longer going forward. Fenerbahce did not, however, and they played after us. Just, I guess now it's yesterday. We're after midnight now. Today/yesterday, it's nighttime here in New York City, late night. But so yeah, Fenerbahce played Gaziantep and were victorious, 3-1. Things were looking interesting actually for a while, but Mert Hakan Yandash would score in the 56th minute, Maxim would level in the 65th, and then Valencia would score in the 71st, and then Sinan Gumush would put it away in extra time in the 95th minute. And so sure enough, Fener back nipping at our heels, I guess you could say. But so let's talk about where that leaves us. So 32 matches in, 33 for some. Beşiktaş has played 32 matches, has 70 points, and a plus 37 goal differential. Fenerbahce has played 33 matches, so we have one in hand again. And they're at a plus 26 goal differential. And Galatasaray has 32 matches, so we're level on matches played now. And they have 62 points and are on a plus 31 goal differential. So we're plus 6 on them now in terms of goal differential. But more importantly, we are plus 8 points on Galatasaray. Both of us have 32 matches played. We are plus 4, 70 to 66 on Fener. Fener has played one more match than us, though. So we could be plus 7 on them even when our 33rd match has been played. So, yeah, a lot of positive stuff when you look at that table. Right behind the pack is still Trabzonspor, 33 matches played, 58 points. So they could still, they have something to fight for as far as maybe third place is concerned. And that's actually significant because Galatasaray will be hosting Trabzon on April 21st, the match day after next, for anyone curious, next week. So Trabzon will be hoping, if they can beat Galatasaray, they could be back in the chase for third place. And so, that could mean a spot in Europe if everything shakes out. So, yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't be playing for it. Certainly, the logic is there for it. So, look out for that. Besides that, obviously, we have to play Galatasaray still. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. What's more important is that upcoming our next match, Beşiktaş will be hosting Ankaragücü Friday, April 16th at noon here in New York City on the eastern coast of the United States. Check your local listings as always. But so Friday, for anyone working, make sure you get home in time for the match. For those of you over in Europe, for those of us here in the States, try to take a nice long lunch break to see this one. If you're on the West Coast, long breakfast? I don't really know what to say about you guys. But so yeah, our next match, hosting Ankaragücü, Friday, April 16th. The match after that will be on the road against Sivas, which is a pretty tough match. I think we can all agree. That'll be on Tuesday, April 20th, so there won't be a lot of time between those two matches. but that will be matches 33 and 34. And so by the end of going into match day 35, we'll have a pretty clear idea of what things are looking like for the title run, if it's going to be smooth sailing or not. But stay tuned. We will be back. So like I said, Friday, Ankara Gücü. That's huge for us. Final notes. I'm probably with the stats on this one. Rashid Ghazal is my man of the match. I don't want to really throw shade on anyone for this. I mean, Ersin obviously had a blunder, but I don't want to dwell on it. It is what it is. It happens to the best of us. It's happened to Muslera, the same exact thing. In fact, it's happened twice to Manuel Neuer. So really, nobody should panic. The kid's young too, so it's better to learn these things now, man. Get them out of the way. But so, as always, stay tuned. We'll be back soon. Stay tuned for After the Beep. Hashtag After the Beep. Our guy Emre, the Southern Eagle, is back with his thoughts. From 6,000 feet in the air. I don't know how many feet in the air you are when you're flying an airplane. I just made that number up for some reason. But so, hopefully I don't sound like a fool by saying that. But yeah, the man's flying in the air, and he's so dedicated to our podcast that he's still dropping us messages and watching the team. As always, follow us on Twitter at Eagles_podcast. Follow myself at Sir_Writes_a_lot. Follow us on Instagram, Black Eagles Podcast, one word. By the way, why not mention that you guys can still donate, or you folks, I shouldn't disclude the ladies or whomever. But yeah, you guys, I just did it again. You folks can still donate to the fund for the Beşiktaş Academy of Accra in Ghana. Our friend Mohammed Aminu is still looking for funds. I'm about to cover the rest of the next shipment of kits. Thanks for everyone who donated to the last batch. So our second batch of kits is going to get there probably early summer, fairly soon. But so yeah, I'm happy to get that across the line, financially, and to get some more kits onto kids in Ghana. Beşiktaş kits, no less. So yeah, shouts to Mohammed. I hope all is well in Accra. And shouts to all of you listeners. Thanks for tuning in, as always. We will be back. And yes, stay tuned for hashtag After the Beep. And of course, let's go Beşiktaş! Woo! Gotta beat Ankara Gücü and beat Sivas. And let's just take it from there. I don't even want to get too much further ahead of ourselves. So why not? Let's beat Kayseri and Galatasaray and Galatasaray too. Let's just close it out well. And why not beat
making these comments from the United Airlines flight from Munich to Washington DC. I managed to watch the whole game, and actually pretty good. I mean, it was good internet provided by United Airlines. And for first half, when we scored 2 goals, our team lost the discipline and we made simple errors in defense. I mean, the first goal, Atiba unnecessarily kicked the ball to corner, and they scored from there. And in the second goal, our goalkeeper was not aware what was going on, and he actually scored himself for our on behalf of Erzurumspor. For the first half, I liked the Oğuzhan. He was good. Laren was good. And just to note, the Gezal made an assist on the Oğuzhan's goal, and Atiba made an assist on the Laren's goal. So the best Canadian in Turkey scored or helped scoring a goal. That was his 12th assist in the season, which is the highest for his past 8 seasons in Beşiktaş. So he broke his record. And the Canadian Eagle Laren is flying high. He's good. I mean, he held the team. He fought well. Sad thing was Cenk had an issue. His knee ballooned up. I hope it's not that serious, but seems like I'm afraid he's gonna end the season now. He may not even go to the European Championship. And in the second half, we were panicking, but I think the reason our players were down and they're not performing what they used to be perform. The Erzurum is quite a high altitude, over 1,000 meters, and our team did not do acclimation to the area. They went only one day before the game, and that high altitude and lack of oxygen made our players to suffer. I mean, we had to go out to breathe a couple times, and they were falling down also easily. One thing to say about the referee, this referee I hated. He's really boneless. He doesn't have a backbone. So what I was saying, this referee is a really bad referee. I mean, after Meler, this guy is also so anti-Beşiktaş. Whenever the blue jerseys fall down, he created simple fouls for them. And when the blue team made obvious fouls to our players, he ignored them and checked the yellow card situation. All the yellow cards shown to our players. He's trying to make the team suffer for the coming 7 games, to have any card punishment, to miss the games and etc. And it's ridiculous. I mean, they are not letting the only good performing team to play. They are using every little tactics to slow down the Beşiktaş. But the good thing is Beşiktaş is beating up the referees, beating up the media, beating up the opponents, and we are flying high. Sergen Yalçın is a very good manager. He's really making Gezal to run like crazy. I mean, Gezal never run like that to put pressure in the corner flag in the other side of the field, not to let the Erzurumspor get the ball out of the area. I mean, that's the key. He made the whole team to believe, and that belief I think is going to bring us the championship, which we all celebrate here in America then hopefully. That's all from me, and look forward to hear from you guys. Take care.
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.